Just pay attention to the security camera above the entrance of Atmosphere Bar in Lafayette. Louisiana captures two people walking through the front door. The timestamp reads 10:15 at night, Friday, May 18th, 2012. One of them is a young woman with blonde hair. She's laughing. Her body language is loose, relaxed, no tension, no awareness of anything wrong. The cameras inside the bar record her for the next 2.5 hours. No argument, no confrontation, nothing unusual, just a Friday night. At midnight, she walks out the same door she came in, calm, unhurried, 1:24 in the morning. A drive-through camera at a Taco Bell picks up a Chevrolet Cavalier at the window. A card is handed over, food passes through to the passenger seat. The driver's face is visible, the passenger's face is not. Investigators would study this footage frame by frame. They could never confirm who was sitting in that seat. Somewhere between 1:45 and 1:48, an infrared camera on a bank building catches a lone figure on a bicycle. The image is grainy, but the light-colored hair is visible. The figure is heading east. A camera on a local attorney's office picks her up again, still moving, still heading home. But something else is in the frame. A white pickup truck, middle lane, moving straight. She turns the corner. The truck turns too. 400 yards ahead, the next camera was already recording. Investigators fast-forwarded through the footage. They watched, they waited. She never came into frame. The bicycle was gone. The truck was gone. And the last confirmed image of her, on that attorney's office camera, was the final time any lens would ever capture her alive.
Still no sign of 21-year-old Mickey Shunick. She was last seen at around 2 o'clock Saturday morning. That's when she left a friend's house in the St. Streets area. She was on her bike headed home to the area of Ambassador Caffrey and West Congress, but she never made it home.
Before we continue, don't forget to like this video. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss any coverage in this channel. Now let me tell you a little about who Mickey Shunick was. Not just a name on a missing person flyer, not just a face on the news, a real person with a real life and people who loved her deeply. Mickey Shunick, everyone called her Mickey, was 21 years old. She was a senior at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, studying anthropology, and she was just days away from turning 22. Her birthday was May 22nd. She disappeared on May 19th. She never made it. If you ask the people closest to her to describe Mickey in one image, most of them would probably picture her on a bike. She rode everywhere, all the time. Her bicycle wasn't just how she got around. It was part of who she was, her freedom, her independence, the way she moved through the world on her own terms. Friends and family said it was as natural to her as breathing. But Mickey was more than just a girl on a bike. She was funny, sharp. Her sister Charlie once said, she always had something to say. Not in an annoying way. In the way that makes a room feel warmer when someone walks into it. She picked up odd jobs here and there, loved live music, and spent as much time as she could with the people she cared about. Those people were everything to her. Her father, Tom, her mother, Nancy, her older sister, Charlie, and her younger brother, Zach. Zach was graduating from high school on May 19th, 2012. The same morning Mickey went missing. That detail matters, because Mickey had promised to be there, and the people who knew her best will tell you. When Mickey made a promise, she kept it. If she said she was coming home, she came home. If she said she wouldn't be late, she wasn't late. That was simply who she was. So that Friday night was never meant to be a big night. A concert at a local bar, a couple of beers with a close friend, home before morning, ready for her brother's big day. Simple, ordinary, safe. That's what it was supposed to be. But somewhere between leaving that bar and reaching her front door, everything changed. Let's go back to that Friday evening. Mickey arrived at Atmosphere Bar with her friend Brett Lee Wilson at 10:15 at night. The surveillance cameras inside the bar recorded everything. And for the next 2.5 hours, there was nothing to record except two friends having a normal night out. They stood by the bar, they talked, they laughed, they each had a couple of beers, no raised voices, no tension, no sign that anything was wrong. Investigators would later review every minute of that footage. There was nothing there. At midnight, they left. Together. Quietly. The cameras caught them walking out the same way they walked in. Relaxed, unhurried. Neither of them appeared intoxicated. They weren't arguing. Just two people wrapping up an ordinary Friday night. From the bar, Brett Lee drove Mickey's bike back to his place on Ryan Street. Then the two of them got into his car and headed to the Taco Bell drive-thru. At 1:24 in the morning, his Chevrolet Cavalier pulled up to the window. He paid using Mickey's card. Food was handed through the window. After that, they returned to his house and spent some time there. Then, at around 1:45 in the morning, Mickey got on her bicycle and headed home. The route was familiar. She had ridden it before. Residential streets, then a stretch along St. Landry Street, the kind of path that feels completely safe in the daytime. At nearly 2 in the morning, it was quiet, mostly dark, very few people around. Her last phone call came in at 1:31 in the morning, a friend checking in. She answered. That was the last time anyone heard her voice. A few hours later, the Shunick house was already moving. It was graduation morning, Zach's big day. The family was getting ready, or assuming Mickey had simply slept in after her night out. Nancy Shunick opened her daughter's bedroom door. The bed was empty. It hadn't been slept in. Mickey's phone was nowhere in the house. For a moment, the family told themselves not to panic. Maybe she had stayed at a friend's place. Maybe she had just forgotten to text. But Mickey never forgot to text, and she never missed something this important. Every call went straight to voicemail. Charlie tried first, then Nancy, then Tom. Friends were contacted, acquaintances, anyone who might know where Mickey was. One girl mentioned she had been out with Brettley Wilson the night before. The family called him immediately. He told them he had no idea where Mickey could be. According to him, she had left his house on her bike around 1:45 in the morning. And that was the last he saw of her. The family called the police. While they waited for officers to arrive, Nancy Shunick called every hospital in Lafayette. She asked about injured cyclists, about young women brought in confused or hurt. Every single call came back with nothing. Tom Shunick got in his car and drove the route Mickey would have taken home. He found no bike, no belongings, no sign of an accident, nothing at all. When Detective Stephen Bahat arrived at the house, he said he knew almost immediately that this was not a typical missing person situation. Mickey had missed her brother's high school graduation, something everyone who knew her agreed was completely out of character. That detail alone told him something was seriously wrong. The first person investigators focused on was Brettley Wilson. Detectives questioned him closely. Forensic experts examined his home, looking for anything that might connect him to Mickey's disappearance. They found nothing. His account of the evening was consistent, and the bar footage confirmed the early part of his story. With no clear leads, Lafayette police posted a request on their Facebook page asking residents to share any private surveillance footage from the area. The response was immediate. Over 300 videos came in from homes and businesses across the city. Officers spent 5 days reviewing every single one. On day 5, a camera mounted on a bank building finally delivered something. Grainy infrared footage. A lone cyclist with light-colored hair, heading east. Detective Bahat brought Charlie and Nancy Shunick in to watch it. Charlie didn't hesitate for a second. "That's absolutely my sister," she said. "If it's someone you love, you can tell by the way they move." Brettley Wilson was cleared. The investigation had to start over. With Brettley Wilson cleared, detectives went back to the surveillance footage with fresh eyes. This time, they weren't just looking for Mickey. They were building her route, camera by camera, block by block, trying to find the exact moment she disappeared. What they found was a trail. A camera near the Circle K convenience store caught her, still riding, still heading home. A camera on the City Hall building confirmed it. Then the camera on the local attorney's office picked her up again, moving steadily just a few minutes from her front door. 3 separate cameras, 3 separate confirmations. Mickey Shunick was heading home. Then, 400 yards past that last sighting, the next camera recorded nothing. No cyclist, no movement, just an empty street. She was gone. Detectives went back through every frame of footage from that stretch of road. This time, they weren't watching for Mickey. They were watching for anything else, any vehicle, any movement, anything that didn't belong. And that's when they saw it. A white Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck, in the same frame as Mickey, moving in the middle lane of the road. At first, it looked like it was going straight, but the moment Mickey turned the corner, the truck turned too. It pulled ahead of her, and by the time the camera on the attorney's office captured its final frame, the truck was already in front of her. 400 yards later, nothing. No Mickey, no truck, no trace. Detectives now had their first real lead, but it came with an enormous problem. At the time, More than 3,000 white Chevrolet Z71 pickup trucks were registered in the state of Louisiana alone, without a clear plate number, without a face, without a single witness. Finding this specific truck felt close to impossible. But they had something. And in a case that had gone cold for days, something was everything. If you're still with me, hit that like button. This story is far from over. On May 26, 2012, 7 days after Mickey vanished, a fisherman was working near Whiskey Bay Bridge, deep inside the Atchafalaya Basin swamp. It is a remote stretch of water, roughly 25 miles from the spot where Mickey was last seen on camera. Something caught his eye near the shoreline. A bicycle handlebar sticking up out of the water. He called the police. When crime scene investigators arrived and pulled the bike out, they confirmed it immediately. It was Mickey's, her black and gold Schwinn. But it wasn't just the identification that stopped them cold, it was the damage. The rear wheel had been struck from behind by a vehicle, and when forensic experts examined the point of impact, the height of the damage matched precisely with the bumper level of a Chevrolet Z71 pickup truck. The white truck was no longer just a suspicion, it was now physical evidence. 5 days later, on May 31st, police received word that a burned Chevrolet Z71 had been found abandoned near the Louisiana-Texas border. The fire had destroyed most of the vehicle, but the license plates had survived the flames. Investigators ran the plates. The name that came back was Brandon Scott Laverne. Law enforcement already knew that name. Laverne had been convicted in the year 2000 of aggravated sexual battery. He served time and was released in 2008. He was a registered sex offender. Then detectives pulled another thread. The day after Mickey disappeared, Laverne had shown up at a hospital in the New Orleans area with multiple stab wounds. He told staff he had been attacked and robbed at a gas station. When asked for the location, he could not remember it. No location, no witnesses, no corroboration. One by one, the pieces were locking into place, and they were all pointing in the same direction. While investigators were building their case, the community was doing something remarkable. Since Mickey's disappearance, over 4,524 volunteers had joined the search effort. More than 1,200 tips had come in through the law enforcement tip line. Lafayette had essentially turned itself inside out trying to find her. And it was that pressure, that relentless public, community-driven pressure, that started forcing mistakes. On May 31st, the tip line received its first major call. The father of Laverne's girlfriend contacted police. He reported that Laverne had been acting suspiciously around the time of Mickey's disappearance. He mentioned the stab wounds. He mentioned the gas station story that didn't add up. He was worried, and he made the call. 4 days later, on June 4th, a second critical tip came in. An employee at a used car dealership in Lafayette reported that Brandon Laverne had just purchased a white Chevrolet Z71, a truck almost identical to the vehicle of interest that police had released to the public. He had burned one truck, then walked into a dealership and bought the same model again. Detective Bahat later reflected on what that meant. "We feel it really kind of pressured him," he said, "with him buying the truck. That tip specifically came in because this was out there in the public. The community hadn't just supported the search. According to Detective Bahat, without their help, they may never have reached Brandon Laverne at all." On July 5th, 2012, Brandon Laverne was pulled over during a routine traffic stop. The warrant that brought him in had nothing to do with Mickey Shunick. It was related to a violation of his sex offender registration requirements. But the moment he was in custody, detectives moved fast. Laverne was booked on 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of aggravated kidnapping. When Detective Bahat informed him of the charges, Laverne looked directly at him and said 4 words. With what evidence? He denied everything, calmly, confidently, as though he genuinely believed he had covered every track. For a time, he held that position, but then the district attorney's office made an offer. If Laverne cooperated fully, revealed where Mickey's body was, and gave a complete account of that night, the family would not pursue the maximum sentence. It was an agonizing decision for the Shunicks. But Charlie later explained why they agreed. "We had to know what happened," she said. "Otherwise, you're forever just wondering." Both sides accepted the deal, and Laverne talked. According to court records, Laverne had spent that night driving around Lafayette, calling escort services. When he spotted Mickey riding her bike along St. Landry Street, he turned his truck around and followed her. He hit her from behind, deliberately, and forced her into his vehicle. What happened next is documented in the plea agreement. Mickey fought back. She used pepper spray. She got hold of his knife and stabbed him multiple times, causing wounds serious enough to be life-threatening. According to court records, Laverne took the knife back and stabbed her. He checked for a pulse and believed she was dead. She was not. When she came back fighting, he pulled out a semi-automatic handgun. He buried her body near an old cemetery in Evangeline Parish, approximately 12 inches deep. On August 17, 2012, Brandon Laverne entered his guilty plea, not on one count, on two. The first was for the kidnapping and murder of Mickey Shunick. The second count caught many people off guard, because it involved a woman most of the public had never heard of. Her name was Lisa Pate. She was 35 years old and a mother of 3. She went missing in June of 1999. Her body was found in September of that same year in the Church Point area of Louisiana. At the time, Laverne had been investigated in connection with her death, but no charges were ever filed. For 13 years, her case sat unsolved. When Laverne's name surfaced in Mickey's case, our investigators went back to Lisa Pate's file. This time, the evidence was enough. He was indicted on both murders and ultimately pleaded guilty to both. 2 women, 13 years apart. The same man. Brandon Laverne was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently serving that sentence at the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola. He has not stopped fighting it. Over the years, he has filed multiple attempts to have his conviction and sentence reconsidered. Every one of them has been denied. The Louisiana Supreme Court rejected his most recent attempt. The man who looked Detective Baha in the eye and asked, "With what evidence?" is now spending the rest of his life behind bars. That question has been answered. On St. Landry Street, right where Mickey was last seen on camera, there is a white bicycle chained to a post. It is called a ghost bike. It has been there since 2012. People still leave flowers. That stretch of road, once just a quiet city street, is now part of the Mickey Shunick Memorial Bike Loop, an 8-mile trail that passes directly by the memorial. Every year, riders come out to ride it in her name. Her love for animals lives on, too. Mickey's legacy is an ongoing initiative that provides funding for humane animal services across Acadiana, a direct reflection of how much she cared about the world around her. Her sister Charlie turned grief into action. She founded the Resource Association for Missing People, an organization dedicated to raising awareness about missing individuals and supporting the families left behind. Charlie once said something that stays with you long after you hear it. She's forever 21. Her friends are teaching and counseling and doing other things. She's still 21. The community that spent weeks searching for Mickey never really stopped. They remember her not as a victim, but as someone who was here, who mattered, who made people laugh, and whose life continues to mean something. It still does. This case was not solved by a single breakthrough. It was solved by ordinary people doing small things that added up to something enormous. A fisherman who noticed a bicycle handlebar in the water, a father who picked up the phone and called the tip line, a car dealership employee who recognized a name, and 4,524 volunteers who refused to stop looking. Every single one of them mattered. And then there was Mickey herself. Her fight that night, the pepper spray, the knife, the wounds she inflicted, forced Brandon Laverne into a hospital. That hospital visit triggered the first tip. The first tip led to the second. The second led to an arrest. Charlie said it plainly. She kicked his ass. She fought back. She almost killed him. Mickey's courage broke the case open. 3 things worth remembering. Share your route. Let someone know when you get home safely. Report what feels wrong. The call made on May 31st changed everything. Stay engaged. Community attention creates pressure. Pressure creates mistakes. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe for more cases told with the respect they deserve. Mickey Shunick came home, just not the way anyone hoped.